Greetings, friends of good looking cosmetics and even better looking visualizations of the same to this video tutorial. Yes, it is a video tutorial and I will guide you step by step through the whole process of the creation of this beautiful Chanel lipstick product. Can you do something like this in 3D? Yes, you can. The only thing you need is Photoshop and Blender, in this case. And what I will also use in this video is the advanced light maps. My beloved advanced light maps. Beautiful, high quality light maps that you can use in every render engine. Just put it on a plane, put an emission shader onto it, and you will see that your product will just looking very beautiful. Anyways, this will be the first video. There will be also a second video. In the first video, we will do the whole preparation of the scene. For example, the creation of this triangulated plane on which the product is standing, and also the materials with all these little imperfections and that. All the setting will be done in the first video, and I will show you a lot of tricks also in Photoshop that I use in order to make the product even more beautiful after it is rendered. So, I would say, let's get it rolling. Before we do, if you want to follow me through this tutorial, please make sure that you have downloaded the zip file in the description of this video, because everything you need for this tutorial is in there, the OBJ file of the 3D product, for example, but also the final Photoshop file in which you can see the whole layers and all that stuff of the post-production. Alright, if you have downloaded it and opened Blender, then we are ready to start this video. No, one thing, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Yes, thank you. And now, let's get into it. Very well, then we can start. Okay, the first step is very important. Please delete the default cube. Please then insert a new cube and delete that as well. It's so stupid. Okay, now the first step is that we need to import the OBJ file from the provided folder. Please take the lipstick tutorial number 1 OBJ and import it into your scene. You should see something like this, and if you see something like this, everything is very good. We have a few parts here. You can see we have a cap, we have this whole body and the lipstick itself. So at first I want to have a little bit of a better background. I'm now in the I'm in EV mode. Okay, let's switch to cycles. I actually always work in cycles, and in my case I need the GPU. The RTX 3070 is always looking forward to the next challenge. I will render the GPU, you can do whatever you see fitting for yourself. And then I want to have a better background. I will at first just take a color like this, a gray color. If I go into preview mode, yeah, just something very easy to work with. So I switch back to the normal mode, and yeah, the first thing is that I want to create the plane on which the lipstick will stand later on. And if you see the product rendering that I did, you see this nice triangulated surface, and we will do this quite simply with a few modifiers, and that is what we will do at first. So at first, insert a new plane, Shift A for mesh, and then you see plane, scale it up, hit S, scale it up a little bit, and then hit R, rotate it by 90 degrees on the Z axis. So hit R, hit X, and after that type in 90 degrees and apply with Enter. Now we will put it a little bit down, so hit G and then Z, and then pull the layer down so it is below the lipstick. We need to subdivide this a few times, so go into edit mode with tab, then hit right click and go to subdivide and repeat that process 3 times. Now leave the edit mode, go over to the modifier tab and insert the decimate at first, and after that insert the displace modifier. I can't see it. Where is it? Sometimes I'm blind. It's direct. There, the displace modifier. Insert the displace modifier. Okay, next step. Hit new on the displace modifier, then go down to the texture tab and go to this type, drop down and hit clouds. Go back to the modifier tab, and we will now need to decrease the ratio value, and you will see there are starting to pop in some interesting triangulated shapes. And that is exactly what we are after. I think I'm actually good with this one. I choose the ratio in the decimate tab of 0.16, so like this. And then I will decrease the strength of the displace to a value where it is not so deep. So I will leave it with 0.5, I guess. And I think that is pretty close to what I have here. And so I think that is a good idea. All right. Okay, if you go down to the texture tab, you can also play around with the size a little bit in order to find something that is, you know, like very interesting for you. This is really a matter of taste. I think I will leave it as it is right now. Okay, so next step, add a new modifier, which is the solidify modifier, and type in 0.5. It will look a little bit weird, but that is okay. In the next step, we will also add in a Boolean modifier. There. And now hit Shift A and add a cube. Hit S and X and scale it up. Now scale it up with S only even further, so it is bigger than this mess that is going on up there. And I will also put it a little bit down with G and Z and make it a little bit bigger on the Y-axis, so like this. So it is completely cutting this top part away. So and now if you activate the Boolean modifier, then go to this little dropper and choose the cube. Now everything is gone. That might have something to do with the intersections. So I select the cube and hit G and Z, and here you see it. If I move it up and down, it appears sometimes. I don't know. Just choose a spot where it works. This has something to do with the mesh. Alright, and if you have done that, you can select the cube and hit H to hide it. I want also to make this thing invisible, so I have to make my cube a little bit bigger. And I do this by selecting the upper part of it, hit G and Z and pull it up. So, alright, that looks quite good, and it is pretty similar to what we have here. So this is actually not too bad. Great, what is the next step? Let's select the plane and the cube, and let's move them to the new collection with hitting M, and we name this triangle plane or triangle base. Just choose a name that's fitting. Now I will put this up, all of it, a little bit, and it would be help to have this one invisible. So I will go to the object properties, viewport display, and then I will say wireframe, display as wireframe or as wire, so I don't see the cube any longer, which makes it a little bit more convenient to work with. Alright, so now put this up so the lipstick is standing on that whole architectural object. So yeah, I will go into the preview mode. Okay, I see nothing. Select the cube. And in the properties, you can also do the show in viewports and show in renders. You can deselect that. Or maybe it might be better to just uncheck these, all of these. So it is still selectable and I can still work with it. Okay, now it should work. Yes, it works perfectly. Very good. So I have it standing there, so it is. It doesn't have to be perfect, but that's all right. Okay, so let's check this. It is actually standing on the edge, a little bit over the edge actually. So I will take this and pull it back a little bit. Hit the G for that, and then hit the Y button, and then pull it back. So it's standing on the edge. But that looks good. Alright, you should now be able to see my clicks and the keys that I'm using. Yes, you see them. And I also did change the preview mode from Studio to Matcap and Object, so it is gray, the standard clay mode. I like that the best. Alright, so the next step is that I want to set up the materials for this. So I go into the Cycles preview. And if you go to the folder, the tutorial folder, you will find the logo 1. And this PSD, please drop this into your material shader. If you go to the material settings over there, you see there's the two materials in there, one for the gold stuff and one for the black finish. And into the black finish, we want to insert this logo 1PSD. And after we've done that, just connect the color to the base color. And then you should see the Chanel logo down there at the bottom at the right spot, because the UV maps have already been created properly. So this should not be a problem. We do the same now with the cap. The cap should also have the icon of this logo on top of it. And so we select the cap, we go into the material and we insert the icon one. And then connect this to the base color. And it should look like this. Very nice. Next step would be to add a new modifier. I already have done this in this case, but I will just redo it for you to see what's going on. I insert a subdivision modifier and put this to 2. And I will do the same stuff down here, add a modifier, a subdivision modifier, and also for the lipstick, the red lipstick, also is getting a subdivision surface modifier. Yeah, your scene should look like this. We have the channel logo down there and the icon over there. So now we start to work on the materials a little bit more. I don't want to do so many things, but one thing that is very important for me is always to have a little bit of imperfections. What I'm using for that is the Blemish Pro Maps. These maps are perfect to show some imperfections and to increase a little bit roughness, but just like very, very subtle. And I'm using the Light Damage 05 4K. They actually come in 8K, but I created separate versions in 4K, so I can be quicker in working with these. And I will just connect this to the roughness channel. So if you don't have the Blemish Pro Maps, you can also use a grunge or a dirt texture from textures.com. Let me quickly show you what I mean. You go to textures.com, you go into the library and you just type in something like dirt, and if you scroll down, you will see something that looks like this, for example. It's a very good example. You could use this. And I would recommend you to use a higher resolution like L or XL, but they have to be paid as well. You only get the premium credits if you pay the, I think you have to buy a credit package or something. So, but I would recommend you this if you want to have a very high resolution. If not, you can also use the S1, like the S size. But I will do this with the light damage. And if you hit Control Shift and click on the node, you will see a preview only of this map. And as you can see, you see nothing. And so we will also insert a color ramp, Shift A, S, and color ramp. And then you connect this between the color output and the roughness input. And now I click Shift Control onto the color ramp. I will see the preview of that. And if I now take down the slider from the left to the right, okay, nothing yet, but if you now go Control T on the image texture node, you can change the input from UV to object, and you go from flat to box, and in the blend mode you type in something like 0.3, and that already looks like something. You see this? This is what I mean, like very subtle imperfections. So if you deactivate the node wrangler again, and you put this into the roughness channel, you see nothing because we don't have any environment to be reflected in that. So I will change that very quickly. I will do just a shaker texture. Yeah. So, and here you can see it starting. If you zoom into it, you see that there is just a little bit of imperfection. This is still a little bit too much. I mean, like if you want to do an advertisement shop, if you want to do a clean shot for your client, you would not want to have these, like this amount of imperfections in it, just like very, very subtle imperfections. So I will take the white slider back a little bit towards the middle, so it is hardly to be seen like this. Yeah, this is good. This is good. This is like maybe a little bit more, but not much more. So just you have to have like very subtle subtleties. Great. Okay. The same thing I want to have in the black area. I'll just increase it a little bit more. Okay, so, and for that I can just copy the whole part of these 4 nodes, Control C. And now I go down to the material preview, into the black finish, and I hit Control and V. And here we go. This is it. And now I just connect the color to the roughness again, and I have the same effect down there. Still thinking a little bit about increasing it. I think it's a little bit too weak. Should be a little bit more. Otherwise it is really almost completely invisible. That's better. Anyways, okay, so having done that, we now will edit the lipstick itself a little bit. And the first thing is I want to have this lettering or this logo like stamped into the lipstick. And for that, we will go to the folder again and insert the logo 1 PSD into our shader. And what we need now is a displacement node. So hit Shift A, S, and then type in this. Then you see displacement, hit enter and place it there. Connect the color to the height channel and connect the displacement to the displacement, and hit Control T just to have a view of what is going on. After that, there should already something to be seen. Yeah, there is something, but it is not really looking properly yet. I go down to the settings. There should be displacement and bump. If not, change it to displacement and bump. Yeah, that's looking better. So now take down the level to mid-level, or take up the mid-level to 0.95 and the scale to 0.008. Also hit Shift A and insert a invert node and place it between the texture and the displacement. And after that, change the sRGB channel to none color. Alright, if you have done that, now you should see that the logo is stamped into the lipstick. I would say we increase the subdivision level to 4. That makes it much better, and I would not increase it even more because I think that is enough, at least from this perspective. Later on it will not be visible, there are still some glitches, but that is okay for now. So, but that is only the first part. We now want to have a little bit like glitter, like little fragments or particles inside of the lipstick. And for that we need a noise texture. Type in Shift A, then S, and then type in Voroni texture, place it into the scene, hit Control T, and we exchange the generator to object. So we go from the object into the vector, and then we have it. So next step is we need a separation RGB. Shift A, S, sep, and here we go, separate RGB. You place the color into the image, and then we want to recombine the RGB. So hit Shift A, S, and type in comp, like combine RGB. And if you have that, you connect the red to the red channel, the green to the green channel, and you leave the blue channel empty. And instead you just type in 1. So it looks complicated, but it is not. Just use the node wrangler to check what is going on inside of that node. And you see what we have is something that looks like a normal map. And that is actually what we want. But this one is still too big. We need to scale it much down. So type into the scale, type in a value of 2500. And let's see what that gives us. So if you scroll into it, you see there are like very little and tiny particles. And maybe it's a little bit too subtle, a little bit too small. It's like noise. I will scale this down to 1500, or just 1000. Yeah, I think that is enough. All right, and this whole thing now needs to go into a normal map. So Shift A as normal map, and put the color into the color and the normal into the normal. Okay, so now Shift and Control onto the actually shader, and now you see that there is some fragments, particles, but it is a little bit too heavy, this effect. So we take down the strength of the normal map to 0.05. 0.05 works for now. All right, I would say that's it for this. All right, next thing is the cap. I want to stamp in this logo a little bit. And for that we need a few more nodes to create this effect. At first I go to the image texture and hit Control T, to have an overview of my mapping. And then I will click on image texture and click Shift D and pull this down so we have a separate image. I will also connect the same mapping vector into the vector. And now what I need is a bump map, so Shift A, S, and type in bump. And connect the color to the height and connect the normal to the normal. And now we should already see something. Yeah, that's good, perfect. And now I want to have the light damage map also on this thing. And so I just go down there and copy this whole string and insert it here. Take it down and connect the color to roughness. Yeah. Great. That means we are done with the preparations. So now I will do the compositing thing, the composition thing, like the setup of the scene. And for that, I will take this thing over to that it fits our reference image, like having one part or the cup of it laying there and have the same product being there. And yeah, that's quite easy. Just take these two guys, hit Alt D and copy them over to the left using the X key in order to have it in line. Then I will take down the cap, G, Z, take it down, place it onto that body so it fits in very well and looks good. Alright, that looks already like something. And I will also copy the cap over, Alt D of course, copy the cap over. And yeah, take it down with G and Z. Then I will rotate it with R and X, 90 degrees. And then I will just place it over there, next to our product. Yeah, I think that is good. It's also being a little bit over the edge. Now we have to rotate this one and lay it on top of this. So hit R and Y and then put it into the position like this, and then you put it over, try to make it fit a little bit back. Yeah, maybe like this, a little bit up. So if you have something that looks like this, we are good to go for the next step. I guess this is a very good preparation. One thing is missing, of course, the camera. We have not set up yet a camera, and that is the next step that we will do right now. So just hit Shift A and add a new camera. And I pull this one over to here. And it is just, I use the same controls that I would use in order to transform a simple object. Just like the G key, the R key, and I think you will figure it out. It's not too complicated. R, Z, you can rotate the camera over to here, and I will put it a little bit down. If you go over to the scene properties, you can check if your camera is the right one. This has to be the active camera. You see this with this black arrow. And if you hit O, you can go into the camera mode, and then you see what you would see through the camera. And if you select the camera and hit G, you can also rotate it or transform the angle in the actual camera view, which comes in very handy. Yeah, one thing that I want to have is I want to have straight lines in the viewport, so I have to have the camera set up in a very horizontal, completely straight position. And for that I type in 90 and 0 and 0. And now I can go and rotate this a little bit over to the side. I go into the camera view with O, and now I see this is completely straight, which is very good. But in order to maintain this, we now need to put the camera down a little bit so we have this dramatic view. And I think it should be over there. And now we go into the camera settings and we go into the Shift Y and put this up again a little bit. I think that is good. Maybe 05. It might be a little bit too much. I will go up again a little bit like this and then go down. And of course I have to change my ratio, so I have one. I will do, what will I do? I will do 3000 times 4000. That is good. So, and I reposition the camera so We have this lipstick being on the right side a little bit more, like in the rule of thirds, more directed to the right side, and this on the left side. And also I want to have this to be approximately 1/3 of the image. So I think this here might be a very good position. I think so. We can hide the cap. We don't need it. And I will also hide it from the render view. If you ask yourself how I can get these little camera render views, you just have to go over to the filters here, and then you can activate this. Then you can toggle also if it is seen in the render later on or not. Alright, then I will do a little preview in order to check if everything looks okay. Yeah. I think I will look a little bit more from the front, and for that I can choose the 3D cursor as a pivot point, and then I go into the camera mode, hit G, hit R and Z, and then I can rotate around the pivot point and place it a little bit towards this side, so I can see a little bit more of the front of the product, like this. I think that's better. Next thing, create a material for our plane. Hit new and type in gold plane or something. Then we crank up the metallic to 1 and also the specular to 1 and the roughness to 0.02. Very subtle. Next thing, we want to have the same imperfections that we already have on the other gold stuff. So we switch back to this material and we copy again this whole stuff and place it down here. Place it there, and of course we need a golden color. I want it to be the exact same golden color as this one. So I will copy the code with clicking into the base color, go to hex and copy this code. You maybe know this from web design or something like this. And then I place it here, so I make sure that I have the same golden color. But I want to increase this effect of roughness a little bit more, and so I will also place a bump map into it. Shift A as bump. And you will take also the color from here into the height and connect it to the normal. Now it will be a mess, of course. We need to put this down a lot. 0.001. Yeah, and one thing we need to add is Shift A, S and bevel. Type in bevel, because as you see, these edges that we've created are now extremely sharp and it looks very unrealistic, and we need to soften them a little bit. So I will insert this bevel node and connect it to normal. And now you see it is a little bit softer. Put up the samples to 16 and put down the radius to 0.005. 0.008 might be okay. Alright. To scene preview. So I think we are quite far now. Of course this does not look good because we don't have a beautiful texture around it, and now I think we are already there where we have to do some lighting. So lighting, I will use the advanced light maps. I will guide you step by step through this process how this works. What we have to do right now is we have to create 3 different light setups. One for this standing main product lipstick, one for these two, and one for this triangulated plane. Why? I could create only one light setup, of course. But if I want to have a result that looks really like a high-end ad for a big company or something like that, I think it is actually easier to create separate light setups and recombine them later in Photoshop, do some post-production and have a great visual in the end. Because I know there are some photographers, they think that it's a bad thing to create several light setups because it shows that you are not really like a high-skilled person or so. For me, I don't care, if I be honest. What my goal is that my client is happy in the end. And so he is not interested in how many light setups I used. He's just interested in a beautiful looking scene. And so this is my main goal. And since that is the case, I always work with several light setups and recombine them in Photoshop, because this gives me in general the most exciting result. I know this is more work, but it gives me much more control over the end result. So that is why I will start with this guy. And in order to do this, I will group these 3 parts and then I will start lighting. Let's do this. At first, I take these 2 guys into a new group and I call it number 1 set. Then I take these guys into number 2 set and this is number 3 plane. So I get rid of this one and I will get rid of the background because I don't need it, and there is a light left in the scene. Where is it? There. I will delete this too. So I'm starting with a complete black environment. So let's insert the first of the advanced light maps, and I will start with the rim lights. For that I use the images as planes import and I take fine line for the rim lights. You've made it through the first part. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and to subscribe. And in the next video we will do the lighting and the post-production. If you have learned something so far, please write it into the comments. Would be a pleasure to see some comments of yours. Thank you very much. Bye bye.